Breaking news. We have just spotted Mary Oliver in her natural habitat, sitting in a bush writing inspirational poetry. Let's see if we can ask her a few questions. Mary, Katie with Rio Americano News.
Katie.
I was wondering if I could get a personal insight into your poetry and your journey.
Oh no, I wish very much not to be noticed and to be alone, and I was succeeding at that before you came along.
Please, just a moment of your time.
Oh, all right. I know a few things. I know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down into the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I've been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Everything dies, and too soon. Tell me, young child, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?
Well...
It will come in time, my child. It will come in time.
So, can I ask you a few questions?
Of course, of course. I take any opportunity that life brings me. When it is over, I don't want to wonder if I have made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened and full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited the world. You see, your questions call to me like the wild geese.
So, when did you begin writing your poetry, and what was your inspiration?
I began when I was 14 years of age. As a child, when I started reading poems, I was captivated by the world of imagination. And it lacked material substance, yet was nevertheless alive. And now, here I sit in this bush, 79 years old. It's amazing what Pilates can do.
Wow, since 14, that's quite a lot of poems.
Yes, over 35 volumes of my poems. Published, that is.
Where did you study writing?
Well, I attended Ohio State University and Vassar College briefly, but I never earned a degree. But in college, you learn how to learn, and 4 years is not too much at that.
What was your first job? How did it help catapult your career?
I had small jobs here and there, but I was very careful never to take an interesting job. You see, because if you have an interesting job, you get interested in it. Funny how that works. And I wanted to focus solely on my writing. But I guess you could say one of the jobs I had was writing plays for children, and it was very significant, and that the theater director liked my poems enough to arrange them for them to be published.
Oh yes, I've heard of that novel, No Voyage and Other Poems.
Mm-hmm.
It's critically acclaimed.
Of course.
May I ask what were major influences of your work? Ohio, family?
All of it, really. Anything I experience you can find somewhere in my poems. That's what I meant. I took something from everything, as we all should with anything positive or negative that comes our way. But my hometown of Ohio, oh yes, it was very influential. During my childhood, my first important connections were with the natural world rather than the social one. Excuse me, this wind. How I love the wind, but it can be hard on the lungs, especially at my age. Anyway, during my childhood, I loved Edna St. Vincent Millay. She was a big influence, and I actually lived with her sister Norma in upstate New York. But, I once lived in Provincetown, and how inspiring for me. Moved there in the 60s. It was a fun time. And Walt Whitman and Henry Thoreau, I loved them so much. Their work was very inspirational to me as an inspiring young poet.
So your surroundings and the natural world have greatly influenced your poems?
Very much so. I like to take walks, and sometimes I stop and write. When I stop and write, I know it's been a successful walk. Recently, actually, I've been hiding pencils in trees. One time I was strolling through the forest and was suddenly inspired by the environment, but I found myself without pen or paper, so I never wanted to be in that situation ever again. I'm one with nature, what can I say?
Now, people have said you do not take a political or narrative stance in your poems. Do you believe this to be true?
Yes, I do. I just write what I feel. I'm trying in my poems for the reader to be the experiencer. I do not want to be there. It is not even a walk we take together. Let me keep my distance always from those who believe they have the answers.
You say in your poem, Sleeping in the Forest, I thought the earth remembered me. She took me back so tenderly, arranging her dark skirts, her pockets full of lichens and seeds. I notice you use personification in many of your poems. What purpose does personification serve in your poems?
I try to make a point that nature is just as real as us. Look at me, I'm a freaking bush. I just think we should treat our earth with respect. We are all on this earth together, not knowing why or what brought us here. Everything and everyone is just trying to survive and adapt.
Is that what you meant in your poem Bone when you said, "What the soul is, also I believe I will never quite know. Though I play at the edges of knowing, truly I know our part is not knowing, but looking and touching and loving, which is the way I walked on, softly through the pale pink morning light."
Everyone is always needs an explanation for everything. I just want to say, why waste our time questioning the existence of something when we should just appreciate it for what it is? Yes, but we should discover and learn everything about anything that we want to learn. In my poem, Song of the Builders, I talk about how I once saw a cricket move the grains of the hillsides.
Yes, I remember that poem. You said, "Let us hope it will always be like this, each of us going on in our inexplicable ways, building the universe."
Yes, and that's what I truly hope for. I believe we all have a purpose. Even my cricket friend has one. Let us all strive to contribute to this earth and make it something great. Try to better it every day.
You've taught at a few universities.
Yes.
Did you have an overall message you would give to your students?
Learn something from every experience, good or bad. Someone I once loved gave me a box full of darkness. It took me years to find out that this too was a gift.
Great message.
Thank you.
Well, we are just about out of time. Any last words of wisdom from the great Mary Oliver?
Listen, are you just breathing a little and calling it a life? Katie, it's been great having this interview. I have a poem I've been working on. Would you like to hear it?
Sure.
I call it The River. The river of my childhood that tumbled down a passage of rocks and cut work farms came here and there to the swirl and slow down of a pool, and I say myself, oh clearly as I knelt at one, then I saw myself as if carried away as the river moved on. Where have I gone? Since then I have looked and looked for myself, not sure who I am or where, or more importantly, why. It's okay. I have had a wonderful life. Still I ponder where that other is, where I landed, what I thought, what I did, what small or even maybe meaningful deeds I might have accomplished, somewhere among strangers, coming to them as only a river can, touching every life it meets, that endlessly kind, that enduring. Thank you. Namaste, Katie. Namaste.